CMPAC Spotlight. Thank you guys for joining us for yet another opportunity to see behind the scenes, kind of get a glimpse of what's going on with some of the shows that you see right here on this platform, and kind of meet the producers who produce them. Tonight we have a reoccurrence or guest who's been here before, Mr. Eric Little, who produces the show, The Flashpoint. So welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to see you again.
I'm glad to see you, yeah. And I tell you, we are so appreciative of you bringing in your show. It is flashy, the name Flashpoint, but you have some nice graphics and some nice visuals and good teaching.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Flashpoint, why it's even called Flashpoint.
Well, when you're dealing with people, in the years I've dealt in marketing and in the years that I've dealt just engaging people, you only have a moment. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, I was going to create a show and call it The Flashpoint. Mm-hmm. And for those people that tune in, they would be giving me their time and giving me their focus for that moment. Mm-hmm. And I realized that's why with all of the graphics and just everything I put into the show, mm-hmm. is to keep their attention as long as possible.
Right.
And so I just want to make an impact in their life, mm-hmm. and hopefully I can do that in that 59 minutes.
Yeah, you hit a good point about, keeping people's attention, because there is so much to look at. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first saw a program, just not your program, but a program out there where there was like a ticker going underneath the bottom of the screen. Then you have the anchor and the message that's going on, and then whatever visuals that's going by. And then you have like a sidebar with information, and it's just like, where do I look? And so it's good that you are thinking about that, because you put yours up very intentionally, your graphics mm-hmm. up very intentionally. So that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also on the graphics, I still see that you have your targets of, building families, developing leaders, and going after purpose.
Yes.
So how is that going? How has that evolved?
Well, I started, as we talked about last time I came, mm-hmm. I was a part of a church plant here in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. That church grew to 30,000 members. Okay. Transitioned with that little pastor to start a new ministry. Okay. That ministry is doing well. Mm-hmm. And now I'm doing Life Center International at Airsley. That's a new campus that I'm starting. Okay. But I'm starting it from a very grassroots level. And mm-hmm. so it's coming along, mm-hmm. but it's coming along slowly. People were in their cave during COVID-19. Right. And they kind of just been in hibernation. Right. So it's kind of difficult and different, I should mm-hmm. say, to try to connect with people. That's why Access 21 is a major, major tool for me, mm-hmm. because I get a chance to go inside of the homes of people mm-hmm. And kind of relate to them in a way that they've gotten used to over the last 3 years. Right, right. In hopes that I can pull them out of that cave and get back in connection with people.
Exactly. Well, this is a good platform in terms of television and visuals and even social media. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you probably, are on that platform as well, mm-hmm. because COVID did do a lot to people's psyche, to them physically, and we still definitely want to be sensitive to those who lost family, lost loved ones, and who are still really kind of sensitive physically, because the virus is still out there. Mm-hmm. And so how do you feel about when you do go into people's home through this platform and you're not really face-to-face? What is going on with you when you are actually doing your presentations?
Well, I have people that's live, that's
so
sitting
people
there.
Are with you. Mm-hmm.
But I me being a mass comm major mm-hmm. in college, mm-hmm. The camera is a person. Mm-hmm. I treat the camera just like it's a person, mm-hmm. But that person is able to give me access to other people. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm in my living room by myself, I feel like I'm sitting here with you, because I know that there are people that are tuning in, whether it's for 15 minutes or whether it's for the whole period mm-hmm. of time. I know that on the other side of that camera, I'm talking to a person. Right. And so I try to, come across very conversational and very, relatable, just as if they're sitting there.
Right.
And if I'm talking to the group, I make reference to them because I know that they're present, even though I can't see them.
Right.
So it's really natural for me. And I want to say this, when I was in Florida in 2017, I was there for about 4 years, planting a church there. And I was telling my group before COVID happened, I said, I feel like God has given me an unction that we need to launch our ministry online, stream it. And they was like, what? Online? Who's going to watch it? I was like, I'm telling you, it's a shift that's happening and it's going to happen. I had no idea that it was going to be a national disaster or a major pandemic that was going to come. But now that people have changed, stations like Access 21 and people that utilize Facebook and Instagram, it's not going to go back to where it used to be.
Exactly.
We have to adjust and we have to utilize these streams of influence that we have, these access points into people's lives to reach them where they are.
Right. You actually said something that resonates with me as well, because I felt like I should do more online, listen to more teachings online, more messages and ministry online as well in 2019. And even before that, I was listening to different things. You remember Periscope?
Yes, I do remember that.
Periscope was that platform for lives, kind of like MySpace now. I haven't heard of it, what's happening now. But
yeah, I haven't been in MySpace. I did that for just a little window of time.
MySpace and Periscope?
Yeah, I did Periscope just for a little bit.
Yeah, I know. And I think that was kind of like a launching pad for a lot of things. You could watch like eaglets hatch. Anybody who wanted to put a camera on something that was happening, they could do that on Periscope. And I really feel like that was really getting people started to get on these platforms even then. And then, like you said, when you felt that there was a shift that was going to happen right before the shift happened, then those things were in place. And so it's good that, you're utilizing that other people can see you and see you come into their homes. But
and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when I first came to Access 21, when I moved to the city and I was trying to find a way that I can get my voice out there, a lot of times, honestly, I was getting a little discouraged because I'm like, man, are people even watching this show? Are people even connecting with me? And when I got COVID, when it first came out, I was sitting in the hospital waiting for somebody to see me. And the lady came in and said, Pastor Little, I watch your show every week. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I'm sick, but I'm like, yo, that's what's up,
Right.
And then, a couple of days ago, I was, going into the grocery store just to, grab something quick from my home. And the lady stopped me and said, hey, I didn't know you was a preacher. I see you all the time, man. I'm really liking your show on Access 21. I'm like, wow. And so it's just things like that that reaffirm, I have no idea how many people this platform reaches, but I'm glad that I've found it and that I'm able to utilize it to the best of my ability.
Very good, very good. Now I know we are talking about the online platform, but you did mention church planting and being in Florida. And so let's get a little bit about your background and where you started.
Well, like I said, I'm from Apopka, Florida.
Okay. Apopka? Apopka. Okay.
Most people don't, I always say Orlando because it's so close to Orlando. Okay. And most people can't pronounce that name, but that city was named by native Cherokee Indians.
Right.
And so yeah, I started out there playing football, doing some things with my local church. Ended up getting accepted. Now, I will say this for someone who may watch this. I graduated high school with a 1.67.
Wow.
That was just below, almost straddling the line between a D and an F.
Okay.
But it wasn't because I was not capable. Just my home environment was so difficult, and the community that I grew up in with the drugs, and I had two choices. I either was going to, three choices. I either was going to go to the military, I was going to slang drugs with everybody else that was doing it back in the early 90s, or I was going to play football and get a scholarship and leave the hood, kind of like the dude did in Trey, but he got shot though. He didn't get to go play ball.
In the hood, right.
Boys in the Hood. But I got out of there, I took the ACT and I scored really high on it.
Very
and
good.
3 colleges accepted me.
Awesome.
And I went to all 3 of them. That's a whole nother story. But I graduated from
Yeah.
Morris Brown
You
College.
need to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I wrote a
need to
book
talk
about it.
that.
I wrote
Yeah.
a book about it.
And we want to talk about your books. Absolutely want to talk about the books. But you know what? Let's do this first. Let's take a little bit time to look at a clip from your show. You know, kind of let everybody see your teaching style.
Okay.
And then we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit about it.
All right.
Okay.
If you confess Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, I will send my Holy Spirit to live on the inside of you and to activate my kingdom force, my kingdom power inside of you to activate you. It's just almost like if I have a car or a blender, it's created with all of that ability. This television is created with all that ability. But if it's not plugged into the source, if it's not activated, it'll just be something that hangs on the wall. And for so many of us, you've just been hanging around from birthday to birthday, from month to month, from week to week, from hour to hour, from day to day, and you have not been producing what God wants you to produce. His will is not coming to pass in your life. His kingdom is not manifesting in your life and through you. You know you're the only God most people will see. The God in you wants to manifest through you into the world. But he
Now that spoke to me. That was whoop. And of course, you know, hearing it before, you know, you were talking about love and there's so much to unpack from that. But right there, that clip right there really hits on purpose. It hits on purpose. That's something we talked about last time.
You know, my grandfather passed away at 87. We really believe he was closer to 90 in his mid-90s, but he was a kid that grew up on the plantation, and so they didn't have birth certificates then, and so we never knew how he was. But one thing that I did when I ministered at his funeral, I talked about the dash. Most people, we celebrate the birthday, and then we honor people when they die. But the real question is, what will you do with that little dash in the middle?
Right.
Everybody have a certain amount of time. And see, that's why every time I get a chance to talk to people, it doesn't matter how you start. I started rough, but I finished strong. It ain't about how you start. It's how you set the trajectory, or God sets the trajectory, allowing you to meet the right people. You have destiny, people that are connected to your destiny that get you from point A to point B, or you have people that are connected to your downfall and that get you into a pit. And you have to make the right decisions about the people that you have around you, because there is a purpose every person has. And there is something that we're supposed to do with that dash. Some people capitalize and maximize the full potential of their life, and some people make excuses.
Right.
Let other people be the reason why they don't succeed. But I am a living example of picking myself up, dusting myself off, and keep pressing toward that mark.
Like you said, we have purpose. And for those who are in high school or college, our youth that are coming up, or people who are seasoned, if they find themselves in a place where they need to rethink what's going on with them, then it's good to hear this, because you telling us that it took that injury to have you think, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What's going to be next? And so when you did take the SAT, talk to me about what you were even thinking about, maybe purpose. Were you even thinking about purpose in the way that you kind of know how to articulate it now? Or
yes.
What?
I knew that I was the second eldest of 8 children, and no one had crossed the threshold of finishing high school and going on to college. I had little brothers and sisters looking up to me, and then I had the reality of gangs, drugs, and I just knew that I didn't want to do that. And so when I went to take that ACT, I took the ACT.
Okay.
That was my motivation. I didn't have a whole lot of encouragement because of my grades and because of some of the standards in my family. Nobody believed that I was they thought I was wasting my time and my money, you know. I had someone tell me that, you should just get a job. And I was like, okay. And so it was really about my own self-motivation, you know, believing in myself, believing that my grades did not reflect my ability. And so when I scored high on that ACT, that was the proof.
Okay, that was the proof. And so what did you do in college? You took, I do know what you did because we talked about it. Mass communications and arts is what you had mentioned before. And so what did you aspire to do with that degree in those classes after college?
Well, because I did not, my dream was not fulfilled in sports. You know, I wanted to be close to sports. So I thought about being a sports caster, someone that worked close to sports, or acting.
Okay.
I didn't realize I had a passion for acting until I took acting in college through that major. And I was like, man, you know, I can do a little comedy, I can do a little drama.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from the hood, man. You have to learn how to maneuver and how to become all things to all people.
Right, bob and weave.
Yeah,
right?
and so that's why I think most of the actors and actresses that come up in diverse situations and circumstances, they know how to act. You have to, especially in these day and time that we're living in. You have to know how to act when police stop you. You have to know how to act when you're out in public because people will judge you wrongly based on their preconceived notions in their mind.
Yeah.
And so everybody's acting all the time.
That's awful.
You know,
Yeah.
everybody's acting all the time. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do, and I still plan on doing that.
Okay. Well, you know, when you spoke about that purpose-driven life and the dash, you also talked about the birth. And I loved what you've said before when you said our purpose existed before we did.
Yeah. That's my favorite scripture that I often quote, or in any kind of way, if you talk to me, it's going to come out. It's Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. So that means before you got a body, before you got a sex, before you had a social economic situation, before any of the stuff that we use as excuses, God already knew us, and he said, I ordained you to be. And if you flip over to Jeremiah 29:11, he says, for I know the thoughts I think toward you, plans to prosper you. I have thoughts of good and not of evil, plans to prosper you and give you a hope in the future. So regardless of how we get into the world, regardless of who our mom and our dad is, regardless of what area code we live in or what kind of house we grew up in or what kind of community, God don't send nobody to this earth without a purpose to excel you. I'm gonna say this last piece. Just think about it. Dogs, birds, cats, everything that God puts on the earth, he puts something inside of it so that it will excel. He puts something inside of it so that it can survive.
Right.
And so I just live to, one, help people find Christ, but also help them to find their purpose.
Yeah. So, okay, so I hear you and I can just see little bits and pieces of your life as you just kind of evolved and went along in life. When did it hit you that I need to pay attention to God? I need to, you know, really get serious and not just talk about what I can do, but who gave it to me? You
know, I was 18, about to turn 19. I was at Morris Brown College. And my father was a really good, he sang, it was very musically inclined even from a child.
Okay.
And I always had this desire to be on LaFace Records. I wanted to have a record deal. And so when I moved to Atlanta, part of the reason why I went there is because I wanted to be closer to the music industry. And I just figured I'd go to college and, you know, maybe I'll put on, you know, I'll meet somebody and I'll sing for them and get a chance. And so I was singing in my dorm room one day, and some guys heard me that were connected to a producer, and they offered me a deal. And the day before I signed the deal, first time it ever happened to me, I had this Bible sitting on my desk. I had a solo room, so I didn't have a roommate. And something just said, pick that Bible up, just open it up. So I just opened it up. That Bible had dust on it, okay? I was not focused. This is Atlanta after the Olympics. Okay. It was more girls than I could have imagined, all right? Okay. I wouldn't focus on that. I opened that Bible up and God spoke to me through that Bible at 18. And so from then, I turned that record deal down. I became a part of a college ministry and my life changed.
Okay, well now back up, because you said you opened up the Bible and the Lord spoke to you. Unpack that a little bit. What happened? You just felt inclined to pick up the Bible and dust it off and just open it up. And what did you read when you opened it?
Well, I read, there was a passage in the book of Ezekiel where God, as soon as I opened it, it was like the words just leaped off the page at me. I mean, I was like, whoa. And so I started reading it, and he says, I've called you to be a watchman that sits on the wall. And I want to use you to speak to people so that the direction they're going in, they won't go in that direction. But if you don't speak to them, I'm gonna hold that to your charge. And so I'm paraphrasing. That's pretty much what it was saying. And I was just like, how did I open the Bible? And it's right here at this part, like he's speaking to me right now. Like there was no lead up. It was just like those words jumped out at me. And as soon as I finished reading that passage, the producers knocked on my dorm room door with the contract, and they was going to take me to a restaurant in Atlanta and let me sign it. I was going to be a lead singer in a new group that was forming. And I said, I'm not signing it. Of course, the producer cussed me out. He was like, what, man? You know, we done went through all this, man. You know, I was like, no, I'm not signing it.
Wow.
And they said, okay. I closed the door. And then I thought, man, I was crazy. I waited all this time for that, and I turned it down. But, you know, it was the best decision I could have made because my life just took on a different trajectory from that moment.
Right.
And it was just something that I couldn't have scripted. I met some people. I talked about meeting people. I met some people in the gospel industry that I was able to build relationships with. It's like I just kept being drawn like a magnet to these people in the industry.
I see.
It just wasn't on the side that I was going.
Right.
And then it led me to a man that mentored me. He was in his early 30s. I was 19.
Okay.
And we developed a bond. He was teaching me the word. And then he became like a father to me. My father passed away shortly in my early 20s, so I didn't have that father figure. And so God put people in my life to help train me, teach me about how to be a man, and you know, help me get over myself, because I was really, really high on myself at that time, if you know what I mean.
I do, and because I'm listening to you, and of course, you've talked about such deep things before, and also on your show. But there's new things that come up whenever you're talking. And it's so good to hear that you sound like you were just very intentional about what you thought you should do, because I love Babyface. And I feel like for you at 18, you loved him too, and you would have just been out there. But it's like you knew that I need to be intentional about, I'm going to still sing, I'm still going to do music, but I'm going to be intentional about where I go with it and how I really move in this life that I have, because I know I have purpose. So I love that. I love that. And I have some stories too about, you know, just how you grow up and you just are starting to think, what am I supposed to be doing? And so it's good to hear this new part. And so when you got into the industry, the gospel industry.
Well, I didn't go into the industry.
You didn't, okay.
He allowed me to meet people, and that opportunity presented itself to me. But it was more so about me building relationships with people and connecting with people on that level, but not from a music standpoint.
Okay.
Music is still very much a part of my life. And I could tell you stories about that he just didn't intend for me to go into the music industry as a singer.
As a singer.
But I believe that God will give me relationships with people, and he has people in the industry that are traveling all over the world. And he's allowed me to build relationships with them. Because sometimes when you're in those circles, everybody's a yes man to you. And you don't have any people in your life that's going to speak the truth to you.
Right.
And sometimes when you are a celebrity, or if you're someone that everybody looks to, you need someone to be able to say, okay, lights and cameras off.
Right. Lights
What's
and
up?
cameras off. Yeah.
You know, you're not talking. I don't want to talk to that person, that everybody sees. I'm going to talk to this person.
That's
and so
good.
I've always prayed that God would give me, connections with people in the industry. And so there are people that I have met. And then I have a friend who right now is traveling all over the world, with all different groups. And I've had a chance to build a relationship with him. So I think that was more so for where I'm going. I'm 46 years old now, 47. I just turned 47.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. So I do believe my future, I'll be in the entertainment industry, but not as a entertainer per se, but as an influencer.
As an influencer. Very good. And and just thinking about some different things that I have also seen. I think everybody has seen it. When people are on stage and they're thanking God for allowing them to be in the industry, or thanking them for that Grammy that they won, or an Oscar, whatever it is, acting, you were talking about acting. So they're thanking God for that, and they're thanking Him for what they've been given, because they know they didn't do it themselves. But I like what you're saying about how you need to have somebody who can really get to the heart of who you are and really be there for that reason. Because there's a lot of people who are there for the wrong reason. And so for someone who maybe has won a Grammy or has gotten up there, what would you say to them in light of what we're talking about, the truth and the heart of things?
If God gave me, if He gave me an opportunity to speak to any celebrity, I've never been starstruck at all. I've met some really famous people, but one thing I would ask them, you can succeed at doing the wrong thing. You can prosper, you can even have money, have a beautiful wife, beautiful car, and it has nothing to do with the purpose that you've been given.
Wow.
Because I can take a spoon and dig a hole with it. But is a spoon supposed to be used to dig a hole? No.
Right.
But I can still do that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I just feel, so that's what I would say to them. Like, what is the greatest impact your life's supposed to have beyond your gift? Because people will love you for your gift and you'll get this adulation, but when you go home and the lights are off, you're thinking, there's got to be more to this.
Right.
It's got to be more to this. And so I would ask them, what is the more to your life? If you was to lose your gift today, who would you be?
That's good.
And, and of course for me, I'm not going to just point them to just having this great life, but I'm going to point them to Christ and the purpose He has for their life.
Awesome. Well, we're closing out right now and give you a little break, but if you will, just tell people where they can see you, the days, the times that they can see Flashpoint to hear a little bit more about what you have to say.
You can see me on Sundays at 11 o'clock a.m. Now, I don't know if I can give them a website, but you can find me on Facebook and YouTube.
Thank you so much. So glad to have you back, and we'll look for you to come back the next time, okay?
Thank you.
All right. You guys, we also will look forward to having you back here to look at CMPAC Spotlight and just, see some more programs that you watch anyway here. And you can also watch on video on demand and go to tvaccess21.com before they fall off. Take a look. We'll talk to you next time.